Hello and welcome to Ancient Arts for Modern Times. My name is Michael Fuchs. I'm your host. Our guest tonight is Carol Gale, and our show tonight is going to be on the very fascinating ancient art from Korea called Sundo. And Carol is going to talk to us all about what that is. Before we begin, I just want to talk about the show. This is our second episode. I have a background of 35 years in Asian martial arts, meditative arts, various healing arts, running schools and working with special needs groups and publishing. And I thought having a show on these arts to inform the public on them and the benefits of them would be a good thing. So here we are. And Ancient Arts for Modern Times, we're going to get into all different topics related to Asian martial arts and healing arts and yoga arts and Tai Chi and Qigong and Asian medicine and all sorts of different topics. So again, tonight our topic is on the Korean art of Sundo Yoga. And with us tonight is Carol Gale, who is a longtime educator and president of the Hartford Teachers Federation and a Sundo instructor at their school in West Hartford. So welcome, Gail.
Thank you very much, Mike. Happy to be here.
Welcome, and it's great to have you here. So I guess to start off with, let's chat about yourself and your background a little bit. So please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Carol Gale, and I'm a Connecticut born and raised individual that has been an educator, as Mike said, for 30 years in the classroom. Currently, I lead the Hartford Federation of Teachers. And I have this other side of my life that has practiced this wonderful art called Sundo that comes from Korea. And most recently, a few years ago, joined with some partners to actually keep our studio in West Hartford going. So I am now a partner in owning the studio and hopefully bringing Sundo to as many other people as we can who are interested, because we firmly believe in its healing powers and the beauty of the mind-body-spirit connection that comes out of these ancient arts, as you've indicated, Mike.
Beautiful. That's excellent. So yeah, let's go from there. How long has the Sundo school been in West Hartford?
The space has actually been used for Sundo for now probably 25 to 20. It was at least 25 years in that particular location when we took it over, and we've been in there for a little over 2 years now.
Okay.
Running the same space.
Mm-hmm.
And Sundo has been in the United States, and it would come to West Hartford, probably sometime in the 70s, I want to say. So Sundo originated in the mountains of Korea, and it is ancient. It goes back thousands of years, and it is a practice that involves a breathing meditation. It involves postures very similar to yoga postures, and it does flexibility, it does strengthening, and it does healing, all intertwined. And it was for a very long time only practiced in the mountains of Korea. Then there was...
Now, was that in temples or schools, or how did they...
In the mountains.
Just
very,
people
very
there.
rough living.
I see, okay.
Eating off of whatever was gathered in the mountains, living in...
So it wasn't necessarily in like a temple.
Wasn't a temple or a school.
Mm-hmm.
It was really connecting to nature and living right there. And then the very old disciples of Sundo trained this young boy named Chung San, and he then was instructed to bring Sundo out of the mountains and bring it to the city. And so he came down the mountains and into the city and found 10 or 12 other disciples whom he then instructed and trained and helped learn about Sundo. One of them was a gentleman named Honeymoon Kim, and he was directed to bring Sundo to the West. So he brought this ancient practice to the West, and we are very fortunate that he brought it to this area, to the greater Hartford area, and began, I believe, when I first joined, the center was in Windsor. It moved to another location in Windsor, then it moved to West Hartford, and is in the same studio that we are currently utilizing.
Okay, so
it's
let's.
been around a while.
That's great. And I met Master Kim, as I mentioned earlier, probably first about 30 years ago. He's a very wonderful, impressive person. He's also a professor, correct? He's very highly educated.
Yes, he teaches
And he's
Sando in Korea.
He's a true master expert of his arts. Let's do this at this point. Explain in simple terms. The show is Ancient Arts for Modern Times. Why did it come here? Why did they bring it to the city? And why is it good for modern people to practice this?
Excellent question. It is a phenomenal practice in helping to heal your body in a very gentle, slow, and steady fashion, because it starts with breath. So everything about Sando begins with the breathing, and it is a belly breathing that comes right from the lower abdomen in a very rhythmic manner, and there is an incredible power of healing that comes with this repeated breathing.
Would you say that it stimulates the body's own healing powers to work better?
Absolutely.
Healing and balancing and harmonizing?
Yes, and
So it's a natural form of healing.
it is.
Right.
And what Sando is 3 parts to it. So it has the activation phase. In the activation phase, we do warm-up exercises to get the body moving. You might just be like, twisting back and forth.
Yeah.
We do a little routine of stretching. Then that's activating the chi energy in your body. Then you go through the building phase. The building phase is when you are really focusing on the breathing meditation and you are working through a set of postures. That's building the chi energy in your body. Then the final stage is the circulating. And in the circulating stage, we do some cool down exercises, we do some strengthening exercises, and that is to, now that you've activated, you've built up all that energy in your body, now you're moving it through your body. And so that's what really does the healing, as that chi energy moves all through the body. Sando also is designed to work on the meridians of the body. These are pathways in your body that connect all of the different parts of your body. They are, one of the things we do at the end of our practice is called the internal organ exercises. There are 10 internal organs, like the heart, the lung, the intestines, that are associated with the meridians in the body. And these 10 particular movements and postures really work those particular meridians to also help heal the internal organs. And in the West, we tend to be very fast-paced. We tend to not take time to take care of ourselves and to slow down. And so a practice like Sando helps us to do that. It has the meditative calmness of the mind, and it has the healing energy of really taking care of our bodies, which need regular maintenance and that sort of thing.
If I could just interject, that's fascinating and great information. Thank you. For people who aren't familiar, because the idea of internal energy and chi is something that's foreign in our modern culture here. Very simply, we have a circulatory system, blood and lymph, nervous system. Well, we're alive and we have energy. And what separates us from a dead person is that energy's not there anymore. Now, one doesn't need to have a specific religious or spiritual belief. In various Asian countries and other native peoples around the world, they developed systems of healing based on that very subtle level of energy and mind. Our culture and our medicine is just now exploring this. They call it now integrative medicine. And there have been many studies which have shown the positive benefits of this. So this is not so foreign. For instance, gravity, we know what happens if I drop this, right? It's going to fall. That's energy. The sun, there'd be no life on Earth if we didn't have the sun. The sun is 93 million miles away. If you go out in the sun too much, you're going to get a sunburn. Cell phones, modern technology uses energy that 100 years ago, they would have thought that was magic. So it is a for real thing. It's been proven many times. So as Carol's saying, this art has been very meticulously developed, as have many other Asian arts. The beautiful thing about Sando is it's been preserved and presented in a very pure and high quality way.
That is true. It really has not
Yeah.
changed in thousands of years. The
Other than it's
postures-
made available for modern people now.
Correct, correct.
So that's one reason I wanted to do a show on this, because there's many great arts out there, but in modern culture here in the United States and around the world, everything is a product. And there's a saying, let the buyer beware. And, you know, people may or may not have real high quality training. So if you want to really be healthy, it's worth it to investigate a little what it
Yeah,
is you're doing. So at any rate, so
Yeah, I want to just touch on what you were talking about, the energy and how it is a foreign concept to people. To try and bring it to an actual manifestation, one of the things that we do find in Sando as people practice is you will have physical sensations that show you that the practice is working. For example, you might find that your body is shaking some. You might find that you are experiencing warmth in a particular area, particularly if that area is starting to heal. It might start radiating. I've seen people who have certainly, their bodies will tremble
Sure,
as
yeah.
they're going through the practice.
could be emotions, all sorts of things.
It could be a release of emotion. It could be a release of a physical manifestation. And because it's that mind, body, spirit, some people are attracted to it for the physical. Some people are attracted to it for the calming of the mental.
People will come from all different
And
directions.
some people come for the spiritual. And sometimes you stay with just one of those aspects. I practiced for a very long time simply as a mode of exercise. And it was only later that I began to recognize the mental and the spiritual component. One of the things that I saw as an incredible manifestation is when I began the job, my current job as president of a union. I began it under COVID. And you may recall that schools were going through quite a tumultuous time when COVID hit. And so it was a really tough time to begin this new job. There was fear, anxiety, people were nervous, scared, calling the union constantly. I was working 24/7. I maintained this practice throughout that entire time, and I am convinced that it was the practice of Sando that helped me to maintain my own kind of stable
Equilibrium.
equilibrium, excellent word. Yes, my own equilibrium and that sort of work-life balance during a very, very chaotic, tumultuous time in my profession.
Well, that's one of the ways we know we have a good art that works for us, is that we see the results.
Exactly.
You know, if you go to a car mechanic and they're not fixing your car, it's time for a new mechanic. So that's tremendous, awesome.
Yes.
Let's see. So, how about let's continue on this topic of, how Sando can help people. Any other ideas besides? So it's helped you in your role with education.
It helps in so many ways. It strengthens the body.
Right.
So the first thing I noticed when I went in is it strengthened my back. I was somebody who suffered back pain due to some accidents, and this was a regular routine that helped me not only do some healing but maintain my back. In fact, although I went in and out of the full practice ever since I started Sando, which was in 1989, I believe, I did the activation exercises every single morning. And that was an incredible help to this maintenance of back pain. It's also made me so much stronger. A little example of how I can testify to that. I'm a guitar player on amateur level for fun, and when I have played the guitar, one of the things that I noticed with Sando is we work on fingertips a lot. And so the more you practice, you might do push-ups on your fingertips. You may be pushing behind you and lifting your body up on fingertips. So you are strengthening my hands got so much stronger that my guitar playing reached a level that it had never reached. And this is after getting into the more advanced levels of Sundo. So, all of this doesn't happen right away, obviously. We have to continuously practice. In fact, one of our sayings that I was sharing with Mike before the show started is we say, breath by breath, posture by posture, practice by practice, we heal. Because that truly is the way this works.
The nice thing is people hear that word practice, I'm sure it's enjoyable.
It is.
Right,
yeah,
it feels
because
nice.
It's nice, calm
Right,
time.
right.
When you practice in community with others, you feel that energy.
Sure.
So there is the strengthening of the body. There is the calming of the mind. There is, if you are desiring of it, there is an ability to have a fulfillment of a spiritual sense. So on all levels, Sundo really does help. It can help people with sleep. It can help reduce anxiety. It can help your digestive system improve. It can improve your immunity system. In fact, it was a huge bonus during COVID, as we were all interested in keeping our immune systems very boosted. And so it helped with that.
Cool.
So
That's great.
Yeah, it has been used.
Now the fingertips, that also helps to open up the meridians. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
I always do
all-
hand and finger exercises in my Tai Chi and Qigong as well.
And not, it's something you build up, obviously.
Sure, of course.
You first start maybe with your palms. And
Of
then
course.
And for some of the postures, we hold our postures for a long period of time.
Let's talk about, so Sundo, so there's postures, seated, standing, laying down, there's movements. Right. Maybe talk about like what's entailed in the training a little bit.
Sure. So, as I said, we start with some just exercises to get the body
And they're
going.
standing.
The posture part, so the opening exercises, maybe about 12 to 15 minutes. The postures themselves is about a 40-minute meditation session. And we listen to a chant. It's the same chant every time we practice. It is in Korean, and it's basically talking about healing, being connected with nature, and bringing that Sundo energy through us. It goes through repeated patterns of sort of like a mantra of sorts.
I understand.
And so you breathe in the measure of the chant, and you hold your postures, and then the chant will give you a signal every time you have to change your posture. So when you begin, level 1, there are 25 postures. Each posture is held approximately a minute and a half, and they start standing.
And of course, people do what they can. If they
Absolutely.
can stand 30 seconds, they right.
You modify it. Sometimes halfway through the practice, somebody may lay down and just breathe. The breathing is essential. That is the basis of the entire practice.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because nowadays in many of these arts related, they leave that out because that's a challenging thing to learn. When I began training in Tai Chi and Qigong around the same time, and I came to it because I had illnesses and stress and all kinds of crazy stuff, and I had known about martial arts and Tai Chi since I was young. I was always interested. And we practiced breathing all the time, all different ways, special exercises. It actually took me 9 years because of my situation and stress growing up before I took full abdominal breaths. And I was practicing all the time. And it's right. So the breath is so important. And it's one of the things that's left out a lot now. So again, it's tremendous that you preserve that.
Thank you. Yes, it is. It's a beautiful practice, and the breathing is very.
Quite simply, if we're breathing naturally and deeply, it's really hard to have stress. We make it stressed out a little, but then you go back to that baseline.
Right, and it helps focus the mind. If you're thinking about your breath, if you're
Yeah.
focusing on that only, it helps to let some of those other worries that are constantly going through our minds to kind of ease away. So yes, we breathe to the postures. We start with standing postures, something where you may be just standing in the prayer position. We may have a posture where our hands are on our bellies so that we can help ourselves feel that breath. It's supposed to be very rhythmically, 4 counts in, 4 counts out. We breathe through the nose inhaling and exhaling without any sound. It's very silent breathing, and the goal is to try and get it to be smooth and even.
Okay, so Carol, I want to just, anyone that may be joining our show partway through, welcome. I'm Sifu Michael Fuchs. My guest tonight is Carol Gale. She's an instructor of the Korean art of Sundao, which is a very beautiful yogic healing art from Korea. And this is ancient arts from modern times, so welcome. Carol, at this point, maybe in our chairs, maybe you could lead us through a little bit of this. The Sundao, whatever you'd like.
Okay.
Maybe some stretches or
a little bit. Well, the beginning, we would do rotating our arms. Twisting your body is very important in activating the energy and getting those meridians going.
So if you're at home and you want to try this, just go eat nice and easy.
Then we would reach down and honor the earth, and then reach up over our heads, honor the heavens.
Yeah.
We might exercise our necks. And of course, we might be seated with our arms behind us, bending, reaching with your hands cupped as close together and raising those up behind you so you get a really
I need that one.
good stretch. Yeah,
My upper back
good,
is...
very good stretch. And then what we ever do one side, we always do to the other side. It's very symmetric.
Okay.
So you bend one way, then the other way. Similarly, in our postures, we would do the same thing by going one side or the other. So there's, for example, a posture where we're seated and our feet are extended out. One hand is on your belly on the side. The other hand is behind you on fingertips if you can manage that. 'Cause imagine we're on the ground here, and you're looking back over your shoulder towards your fingers.
Okay.
You're holding that posture.
Mm-hmm.
Then once that is done, we would be sure to do it the other side. So now your left hand would be on your belly, right hand behind you, if you can, on fingertips. And again, your head is twisted, trying to look down towards your arms. So very, very symmetrical.
Sure.
Trying to make sure that we're working both sides
of
the body. And if there was a posture that wasn't as symmetrical, for example, one of my favorites, if I can do this in the chair, is crossing your legs one on top of the other, sort of like this. And that's the whole posture. But we would encourage people the next time they practice
Do it the other way.
to do it the other way. Switch
Gotcha.
the legs the other way so that you're constantly working both sides of
Beautiful.
the body. Yeah.
Great.
And then at the end of our practice, we would do the cool downs. We would do internal organ exercises. And then we end with things like a headstand, push-ups, sit-ups, to just
Again,
strengthen and
for
get some of the
people who can
aerobic
do
in.
that, they're not going to drop you on your head.
Yeah.
You work your way up to it, right? Yeah.
I should also say, Mike, that when we're getting beginners in, we have a beginner class
Of course, right.
that is scaled back. So instead of the full practice, which lasts about an hour and 20 minutes, we try and keep it to about an hour, and we take out some of the exercises so that it eases you into understanding how to go about doing the practice. It's
Again,
successful.
one of the things, again, why I wanted to invite you is their school and their teaching is very, very professional. They're not making anything up. It's been done to the nth degree. So you're in very good hands with these people if you want to try this. It's unique because most people hear yoga and they're thinking of the postures like at a healthcare center or yoga school, and it's more of the Indian style. But yoga is a term, it actually comes from Sanskrit, and it means essentially like union with the universe, union with the all. And even though that's a word from India, there's many paths in Asia and other nations that are very similar. So the yoga, sometimes they even call Tai Chi and Qigong Chinese yoga. It's just, and in fact, there's much more even in India than the Hatha yoga postures. There's many kinds of yoga of sound and many different things. And that'll be another show.
Right.
But
Well,
so
as you mentioned, the similarities with yoga, one difference is that Sundao is considered a martial art.
that's one thing I wanted to ask you about because they do preserve martial arts. When I met Master Kim just his bearing, the way he moved, his posture, and the feeling, like this guy's doing more than health arts. He's got to be a martial artist.
Yes.
And then later I found out they preserved
Yes.
internal styles of martial
Yes.
arts. So yeah, maybe you could talk about that a little.
Absolutely. It's a martial art in the sense that we have belt levels. You can notice I'm wearing a red belt. So when somebody begins in Sundo, they're a white belt practitioner, and then we move up to a yellow belt, then a red belt, etc. And we have black belts in Sundo.
Do they also preserve like a fighting style that
Yes,
some right?
in
Yeah.
Korea.
In
That is
Korea,
the
right.
one thing
Right.
that was not allowed to come to the West.
Uh-huh.
But in Korea, they still preserve the martial art defense fight,
Sure.
that whole practice
Right.
there.
Well, nowadays most people practice Tai Chi for health, but it actually
Exactly.
originally, and there's still some people that practice. I learned it as a form of. I don't like martial because that's military, but it has a protective feature to it. So I was taught that I should look at that as redirecting and neutralizing negative energy of word, thought, or deed, and which we can do even with a yoga practice. But if someone grabs me and tries to hurt me, that's a negative energy, and I don't want it to harm me. So at any rate, it's different than the way most of us think of martial arts in modern culture. But so yeah, I wanted to ask because I had heard that, so that's true.
Yeah, that is true.
Cool, interesting, fascinating. It makes perfect sense too.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, what else would you like to talk about with Sundo? Did you want to do a reading, perhaps? It comes from. It was influenced heavily by the ancient Taoist spiritual past, correct?
It's very connected to Taoist philosophy.
Okay.
It absolutely is. And
So for those who don't know the term, maybe you've heard of Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching, which is one of the most translated books in the world. And in Asia, many arts sprang from the philosophies. In other words, their thinking is our body is our practice, not just our mind, and it was based on these spiritual principles. And again, you don't have to have any specific spiritual or religious belief. You can think of that how you like. It's philosophy, if you like. So yeah, maybe you could read a little bit and talk about how these things relate to your practice.
absolutely. And the practice is it's a very personal, quiet practice. We do say a few words at the beginning and at the end. In the beginning, we do call people's attention to the principles of Sundo. We actually say the words in Korean, Jungshim, Jungshi, Junggak, Jungdo, Junghang. What we are saying is focusing on our true mind, our true seeing, our true awareness, true way, and true behavior, which is very connected to the Taoist philosophy. And then at the very end of our practice, we may sit down in our community and read from the Tao Te Ching. So, for example, this is Tao Te Ching number 8, just to give you a flavor of the kind of philosophy in the Tao. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you.
That's beautiful. And I would agree, very, very great wisdom. Beautiful.
It is, and gives us a moment to reflect on some philosophical words.
Well, the idea, again, I think, and is the arts like this, they're meant to develop and heal the total being. So, whatever that might mean to each person. So it addresses us at not just a physical level, at other levels. And as you say, people may come from all different levels, and we all practice together.
Correct.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. One other thing I could share
Yeah,
is
please.
when we talk about the interconnectedness, Sundo is also very tied to the 5 elements, and that's earth, fire, water, metal, and wood. And our postures, I won't know exactly how to match them, but if we have a set of postures, this is the first level set of postures. your first set of postures may be, and I may not match these up correctly, but it's like these postures would all be wood postures.
Gotcha.
These postures, the next set of postures would be water. I do know that the last one are earth. And so the postures themselves are connected to these elements, and the elements are tied to the yin and the yang. And
Carol, if I may.
there's also the internal organ exercises that we do are also each of the 10. There are 2 internal organ exercises for each of the 5 elements, so it's very tied.
The arts like this, there's Chinese and Asian medicine, and they're almost like extensions of it. And as far as the 5 elements or 5 phases, it's different phases of energy that affect us, which is a very detailed thing. And people way beyond myself develop this and use it. And I've been to Chinese medicine. I know it works because it's helped me. So, well, listen, Carol, this has been very fascinating. I would love to have you back, and maybe we can have a more in-depth discussion or even demonstration about some of the deeper aspects. But I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Mike. It's been my pleasure.
Wonderful. And thank you all for joining us. And we'll look forward to seeing you soon for the next issue of Ancient Arts for Modern Times. Thank you so much.